Hello friends, welcome to the Cold War Prepper, and this is going to be my first ever political discussion. Gosh, I don't know. Anyhow, you see behind me, I have my flag back up. I used to, when I first did this, I used to have flags that I would put up. I had the Knights Templar, I had different flags. Don't tread on us, don't tread on us, don't tread on me. The Gadsden flag, all kinds of flags. But today I got my Texas flag up. And I know it doesn't fit the window pane too well, but that is basically God Bless Texas written in there. So let's talk about some of the misinformation that's going on around here, and I bring you up to date on what's going on. We had, first there's the Immigration Control Act of 1993, which specifies certain things that the federal government is supposed to do with immigration. When they talk about comprehensive immigration reform, it's because they don't like following that law that still exists today. So, that's the law we've had in place now for 30 years, and it's had some minor modifications to it, but that's the law that's in effect. That is the law of the land. And, just because President Biden doesn't like it, we keep hearing the left calling President Trump a dictator, and yet we see, President Trump did not forgive student loans, even though the Supreme Court told him not to. We see that President Trump had the border wall being constructed. We had illegal immigration, illegal invasion, aliens down to a minimum from what we've seen in a long time. But the left hated Trump and his accomplishments and his anti-establishment stuff so much that they undid anything and everything he did, even though they didn't have the authority to do that. So have you noticed that they keep accusing Trump of stuff that they do? They keep saying that he's an election denier. What about the Supreme Court in the Dobbs decision? They don't like that. They're a Supreme Court denier, that the Supreme Court says that Roe v. Wade was erroneously decided because nowhere in the Constitution does it give the federal government the authority to make that decision. And so, if we go with Article 1, Section 8, and then go to the 10th Amendment, those rights belong to the states. And so the Dobbs decision just restored back to the states exactly what the Constitution says. And so I guess we can call Biden a Supreme Court denier. But anyhow, let's go over what's happened. So we had the border, we had remain in Mexico, you had to apply, we had 23 border crossings where they could cross safely, nobody drowned, nobody crossing the Rio Grande River. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Remember that big deal about President Trump put them in cages? Those were pictures of the Obama administration's detention facilities that President Trump got away with the Remain in Mexico policy. Do you remember the one where President Biden lost it over a Texas Ranger, it was a DPS agent who was whipping his horse with his reins, but of course our left-leaning media made it look like he was whipping an illegal alien. A big deal out of that. Did they ever come back and apologize once the truth was discovered? No, it doesn't fit their agenda. So, where are we? President Biden has undone everything that was working, invited him across. We now have, if you take the 18 states in the United States with the lowest population, the illegal immigrant surge exceeds the total population of those 18 states. Of course, we got caught the brunt of that along with California, Arizona, New Mexico, but Texas is the easiest to access, so we get the brunt of it. But we decided, well, we'll share the burden. So we've got these places that said, hey, illegals, we love you, come see us. Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Chicago. They call themselves sanctuary cities. If you come here, we won't turn you over to the feds. We love you, we want you, we'll keep you. So we're obliging them. We're sending them the people that they want. And now they're complaining about it. And they want to sue us to stop that. They want us to, I guess, keep all those people here. But the question becomes one of why? Why are we doing this? Well, what they want now is they want to give them all citizenship. And that way, with all these 18 million people, that ensures we're going to have tyranny for the rest of our lives, because it'll be one-party control. Because who are they going to vote for? They're going to vote for the people who gave them citizenship. So we can't allow that to happen. We just can't allow that to happen. So we started erecting barriers. We started putting up concertina. We activated our National Guard. The Texas Department of Public Safety, which is our state troopers, have been down at the border, stopping people, putting them on buses and shipping them out. We're trying to stem people coming across at places that are dangerous with concertina wire, etc. And the president says, no, you can't do that. We want you to cut that concertina wire to encourage people to come over at illegal places instead of legal places. And that's paraphrasing, basically. So on December 5th, the federal government went to the Fifth Circuit, which is the circuit that governs us here in Texas, and asked for permission to remove the barriers. And so that the panel, the Fifth Circuit panel, gave them permission to remove the barriers that Texas has installed. Texas immediately sued and asked for an en banc decision, which means that they got the entire Fifth Circuit involved. Fifth Circuit then, on December 7th, said, you know what, we're going to side with Texas. You can't tear down their ability to defend themselves. On December 10th, Texas then took over Shelby Park, which was a processing area, and said, no, this is giving too much free access to the illegal aliens coming across. We're going to secure this area. That President Biden said, no, you can't do that, that you're impeding our ability to enforce the law, which they're not enforcing in the first place. And they took it to the Supreme Court. We finally got a Supreme Court decision on December 22nd, and that said that basically it vacates the decision of the Fifth Circuit Court. And all that says is now it's giving the federal government the authority to remove anything Texas puts up, okay? Texas doesn't have to do anything. So there's a lot of people out there saying Texas now has to remove the barriers. That's not true. Texas just can keep putting up barriers up. It's just the federal government has responsibility to remove them. So on January 23rd, day before yesterday, the governor and lieutenant governor decided they're going to have the National Guard and DPS put up more barriers. And so we'll keep those guys busy. Then on January 24th, which was yesterday, President Abbott put out a letter that I'll give you here in just a second. And then late yesterday and early today, a bunch of the red states have sided with Texas over our right to protect ourselves against illegal invasion, especially when the president and Secretary Mayorkas are violating the existing law, the Immigration Control Act of 1993, as well as the various articles of the Constitution that Governor Abbott cites in his letter. So let's get into that letter. This is from the state of Texas, Office of the Governor, Governor Greg Abbott, January 24th, 2024. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. Note, this is that Immigration Control Act of 1993 I told you about earlier. Continuing on with the letter. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress, and instead of prosecuting immigrants for federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking that action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. By wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas's border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along this state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, and into the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our border in just over 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. So just a point of clarification, he talks about the population, the 6 million, the 28 states have a population of less than 6 million. When I told you earlier the 15, if you take the 15 lowest population states and add all those together, they don't equal that 6 million. So, continuing on with the letter. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, I've already read that, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and the other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left at the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, Section 4, comment. This is the only place in any of our founding documents that a form of government is mentioned. So let me get to Article 4, Section 4 here for you real quick. And nowhere in the Constitution, they'll keep saying protect our democracy. The United States is not a democracy, never has been, hopefully never will be. Democracy means mob rule. The majority, regardless of any existing laws or statutes, the majority rules, not the rule of law. Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Back to the letter, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, and Article 1, Section 10. So we're going to go to Article 1, Section 10, Paragraph 3. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty or tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war, here's the kicker, unless actually invaded or in such imminent danger as will not admit to delay. Which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. Also reinforced in Arizona v. United States, 567 U.S. 387, 419, 2012, with Justice Scalia dissenting. The failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to this state the right of self-defense. I would say that also triggers the 10th Amendment, which says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to it by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to its people, which is the 9th Amendment. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion on Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border. Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas. So what we're seeing is now a bunch of red states, to include Florida, who is sending their National Guard to assist us in this effort, are going to help us in securing the border against this invasion that President Biden is just not even admitting is occurring. I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a reenactment of 1860. Now, if you remember, the victors get the spoils; they get the right to history as well. In 1861, there was no insurrection. 13 states said, "Hey, federal government, the Constitution says this, and you're forcing us to do something that is unconstitutional. And so we want to secede. That is, we're going to break away from your authority. We're not going to take over the North. We're not going to take over the U.S. government. We're not going to do anything like that. We are simply going to leave the brotherhood of the United States and form our own country. And that way, when we have a constitution, we will follow our constitution, unlike what was done in 1861, as well as what is being done in 2024. A lot of similarities, okay? It was not an insurrection. I know there are those of you who want to redefine the term insurrection. It was not. As a matter of fact, if you want to get down to it, the South asked the North to remove their federal troops at Fort Sumter. They refused to do it. They were sending down more troops by ships when Fort Sumter was attacked. So had the U.S. complied and pulled their troops out of Fort Sumter at the request of the Confederate States of America, then that act of war would have never occurred. Gosh, people, exciting times we live in, and we've got known terrorists. And what did he tell the interviewer who interviewed him when he was being interviewed on tape? And you can watch it. Look up, you will soon know who I am. The head, theoretically, allegedly, of the Azerbaijani Islamic Revolution is here in the U.S., and soon we'll find out who he is. Thank you, President Biden. We also have, 30,000 Chinese, unaccompanied, military age, well-groomed, military-style haircuts, good physical shape, who have crossed into the United States in the last 3 years as well. So that's about 3 divisions worth of Chinese infantry. So interesting times we live in, and we'll see what's going to happen. These are challenging times. Okay, so remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Take care. Bye-bye.